Because I want to tell you something. $100,000 is not a gnat on the corporate windshield. Corporations spend $100,000 and more to mist their plants, to clean the parking lot, to make up for spilled coffee and ruined postage. $100,000 is nothing. So get used to saying it. I tell people in my mentor program, look in the mirror and say, the fee is $50,000. And they say, the fee is the fee is $35,000. I said, what happened to 50? They said, I couldn't go 50. I said, is the buyer too tough? I used to work for a guy in Princeton when I was down there for 11 years, a consulting firm. And he was as close to a genius as I've ever come, Ben Trigo. Brilliant guy. But man, you know, manic depressive and alcoholic and all these kinds of things that make for great novels. Ben used to drag me to Manhattan for the strategy program he had, to sell the strategy program. And in the 70s it was $15,000, which was a lot of money in the 70s. And I was, 20-something years old. And we'd always come to the point where the executive in the office, in his suite, would say to Ben, how much is it? And Ben would say $15,000 and smoke a cigar. So one day in the elevator I said, listen, the cigar. He said, what about it? I said, it's rude. He said, I need the cigar. I said, why would you need a cigar? He said, because after I say $15,000, if I don't put the cigar in my mouth, I begin to giggle. This is the imposter syndrome. Now, here's what happens, folks. I used to think when I started out that the problem with consultants, independent consultants, was that they were undercapitalized. They didn't have enough money to pay the bills for 6 months, they didn't have money to do this, do that, invest in their own business. I was completely wrong. I'm constantly surprised at how stupid I was 2 weeks ago, right? The reason people don't make it in independent consulting is lack of self-esteem. It's that simple. The reason people don't make it in most independent professional services occupations, careers, is lack of self-esteem. They don't feel good enough. Why would she listen to me? How can I tell him it's 6 figures? Because they don't believe in their own worth, their own value. And so you have this imposter syndrome. And what happens is you're afraid. You become afraid to really quote what you need to. And so $100,000 is nothing in the corporate world. They're paying that for all kinds of things. Why wouldn't they pay it for the kind of value you can create? And that's my whole concept of value. And in terms of a formula for you engineering students, if you want to look at formula for value, it looks like this. It's the tangible outcomes you produce times their annualization, because they're never just for 1 year, plus the intangibles you produce times their emotional impact, plus peripheral benefits. Those 3 things, that calculation, over your fee, gives you value. And if you're giving a client a 10-to-1 return or better, you're golden. I did work with a consulting firm in New York. They were a manufacturing consulting firm. If their clients got a 2.5 or 3-to-1 return, they were ecstatic. I'm telling you, you can do 10-to-1 easily. Nobody's getting 10-to-1 returns anywhere else. That's what value is about. But you have to start with the output. You have to start with the end result and work backwards. You cannot start with input. You cannot start with methodology. Nobody cares about your methodology. All they care about is how do I improve? And that's an output.